We turn now to the new research examining deaths in police custody in California and accusations that the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner's Office has misclassified numerous deaths in recent years that actually involve physical trauma. It's an area that's faced more scrutiny in the wake of the death of George Floyd in 2020. And at the center of it all are families still grieving and searching for answers. Here's ABC's Morgan Norwood with this in-depth report.
That was my baby. He was a mama's boy, proud of it. He was a natural artist, knew how to write lyrics. He was also a rapper. And I'm not saying John was perfect, but John loved kids. Everybody took to him. He loved life. He felt he could do so much to help the youth because of what he'd been through.
It's been 13 years since Helen Jones lost her son, John Horton III. A mother still grieving, she keeps these pictures of John on her phone.
I hurt every single day that I get up. I know that my baby is gone.
Her son, John Horton, died in solitary confinement at the Twin Towers Correctional Facility in Los Angeles in March of 2009. He had just turned 22 years old. Jones says sheriff's deputies initially told her John hung himself.
At what point did you start to question the details surrounding your son's death?
I mean, from the minute I heard, and he told me these exact words, he said, Mama, if somebody ever come to you and tell you that I did anything to myself, you know they're not telling you the truth. And this happened 3 months later.
According to John Horton's initial autopsy, the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner found that he died by hanging and other undetermined factors. Demanding answers, Helen Jones asked the forensic pathologist from the medical examiner's office to take her page by page through the coroner's report. She says he pointed her to an overwhelming amount of physical trauma.
They buzzed John's liver, they buzzed John's kidney, they buzzed John's pancreas.
What were some of the other injuries?
Severely injured his pelvis, hit him so hard in his head that they left the lines from the print of the flashlight on his forehead. While they did this, they had John handcuffed by one hand. And the handcuff was so tight on his hand that it left a clear ring dug down into his flesh.
In 2015, Helen Jones filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Los Angeles County and the sheriff's office, alleging several deputies participated in a series of beatings that led to her son's death. The case was settled in 2016. 2 of the deputies involved were fired.
They admitted in depositions that he was beat.
Horton's autopsy has since been amended to say the cause of his death has been deferred, meaning the cause of death has not been determined and that the medical examiner is requesting more investigation into the death. But for Jones, that reclassification only unleashed more heartbreak.
It's been 13 years and his life was stolen. He didn't die from natural causes. He didn't take his own life. His life was stolen. So he's missed. I miss him every day.
Activists say John Horton's death was just one instance of a number of potentially misclassified deaths by the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner. Dr. Terrence Kill of UCLA analyzed 58 autopsies of jail deaths from 2009 to 2018. He says the findings were disturbing.
A carceral space should be one of the safest places in the world. Every single aspect of your life is controlled, from the time you wake up to the food that you eat to the air that you breathe. Carceral staff are constantly watching the inmates who are in the jail environment. But in reality, it's the exact opposite. One, we found that the overwhelming majority of people who died in Los Angeles County jails during this time period were African-American men, followed by Latinx men. Most of these deaths were men who were under the age of 40 years. Half of them were classified as natural deaths.
Keel's report claims 54% of those cases classified as natural deaths had evidence of physical trauma.
The coroners and the medical examiners who are charged with the task of telling us how members of our communities are dying are not doing their job. And they are often coming to conclusions about the death of our loved ones who are in the context of law enforcement in ways that provide cover for law enforcement.
The LA County Medical Examiner's Office refutes Keel's findings. In a statement to ABC News, they say Keel's report contains several significant mischaracterizations and false statements, and that, quote, the most egregious implication made by the report is that the DMEC doctors are willfully misclassifying deaths to an opinion that is not based on their specialized expertise in forensic pathology.
The way these reports are written, it's very clear that there's an attempt to minimize the role of the carceral staff and the deputies in the jail for being involved in their death. The way this often happens is that the pre-existing conditions of the individual, whether it's mental illness, respiratory illness, asthma, are often cited as the reason for why this individual died.
I'm not gonna run, man. It's the same argument the defense gave in the death of George Floyd.
I know I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
When former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin was on trial for his murder. In court, a medical examiner testifying that Floyd died of a heart condition.
Mr. Floyd had a sudden cardiac arrhythmia or cardiac arrhythmia.
So you see in the writing of his actual death, his own body, his black biology is to blame for why he died. Not the knee of Derek Chauvin, not the countless officers who were on his legs, who were indifferent to his calls that he couldn't breathe.
Keel also claims that law enforcement were present during the autopsy in 51 of the 58 cases that were analyzed. He says the chief physician at the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department attended 14 of those autopsies.
These are either detectives from the Sheriff's Department or officers themselves that are in the room during the effort to actually do the autopsy. And we see this as a conflict of interest.
In a statement to ABC News, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department says the LASD does not make determinations on manner and cause of death, but does conduct extensive internal inquiries into every death which happens within one of its jail facilities. A new bill that's making its way through the California state legislature would make the medical examiner's office independent from the Sheriff's Department throughout the state.
This bill would go a long way, but it's not enough. Our jails should not be killing people.
Another bill would require the death certificate to indicate whether a person died at the hands of law enforcement or while in the custody of law enforcement officers, including in a city or county jail or state prison. For now, Keel hopes his research fuels a wave of change, not just in California, but from coast to coast. And for Helen Jones, her heartache has been the pulse of her activism, advocating for her son's case, and through the organization Dignity Empowered Now, helping other families whose loved ones are incarcerated.
I just don't want him to be another statistic. And not only for John, I'm fighting for everybody else, baby, too.
Our thanks to Morgan for that.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.